All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Agnes Molnar. I am a managing consultant and founder of Search Explained. And I've been working with search for a long time. And actually, this is what I do. I explain how search works. And this is what my company does, Search Explained. And my goal today is to talk about some common myths and misunderstandings about search, and to help you understand that why those misunderstandings are there and how to work out them, and basically how to avoid them and how to understand how search really works. So this is my primary goal, and what motivated me to do this webinar is that I get this question and these questions so often. I was speaking at the Intro Team event in Copenhagen just 2 weeks ago, which was not a SharePoint event, not an Office 365 event, not a Microsoft event at all. It's about intranet and digital workplaces. Everyone is there, all technologies, all search engines, all kind of companies. And one of the most important topic was search and how it is supposed to work and how it is expected to work, and at the same time where the reality is compared to those expectations. So this is what I'm trying to explain today. Before jumping into the topic, I would like to let you know that a new book is coming, which is called Search Insights 2018. And this book is about search in general, not only SharePoint, not only Office 365. It's written by 8 of us search experts and intranet and digital workplace experts like Martin White, Charlie Hall, Maisky Hall, etc., etc. So maybe you are not familiar with all those names, but those people are really world-recognized experts in search on other technologies. And my chapter is obviously about search in SharePoint and Office 365. But if you download this book, you can get a good insight about where the search industry is today and where it is moving forward, where it is going in general. And the good news is it's going to be a free ebook. It's going to be published in less than 2 weeks from now. So just watch out, check my website at searchexplained.com/books. And as soon as it's published, you will be able to download it from there. And as again, it's going to be free because this is our present to the community. So let's talk about search and those search myths. What are the expectations and what people really expect to work like magic in search? First of all, in SharePoint, there is an expectation of search works as soon as you deploy SharePoint. In Office 365, there is a similar one. Search is expected to work as soon as you create a new Office 365 tenant. The next one is everything is searchable. You can find everything if you use SharePoint or Office 365 search. The next one is customizing the search UI is super difficult and needs super developer power. The next one I'm going to talk about is search can fix bad content. And the last one is personalized search in Office 365 fixes everything. Those are the 6 topics I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to explain what the truth is about each of them, and what you can do to meet those expectations. So first of all, the first myth is search works out of the box. And you expect, and your users expect it to work immediately, like this, what you can see on the screen right now, or like this one. Or I can show you several examples of good working search experiences. But the first thing that you realize here, those are not really out-of-the-box search experiences. Something additional has been done there. And that something is that you have to add to the out-of-the-box experience to make it work, actually. So if I want to compare, the expectation can be seen on the left side, where your users expect search working immediately out of the box. As soon as you turn it on, the feature is there, search service application is there, it should work, right? While the reality is that it does not provide results, or at least it does not provide the results that your users are expecting, or in the way they are expecting the results. So the myth here is, as soon as you install SharePoint, the search service application is created and you are done. The truth is, it is technically speaking, it is true. I mean, the search service application is there. So technically speaking, search as a service behind the scenes does work. But by default, crawl is not scheduled at all. And the only content source that you have is SharePoint content source. So without having a crawl schedule, your content is not being added and not being updated in search. Therefore, you cannot provide good results to your users. The other thing is, if you do a full crawl and you create a crawl schedule, everything is added out of the box. And in many cases, you don't need everything in search. We are going to talk about that a bit later. The user experience is the 10 blue links. And your users get only that out-of-the-box user experience with the default out-of-the-box refiners, the default way of displaying the items, etc., etc. And probably they are not satisfied with that because this is not visual enough. If I go back here, you can see on each of those screens that visualization is very important. It is really, really important how you present the results. What you present is even more important, of course, but how you present the results is the key here. And the last thing and the last truth about search is there is no custom metadata out of the box. There is nothing customization. It's just a generic thing that comes by default, that comes out of the box. And that generic thing is not specific enough for your users and for your business. You have specific content, specific users, specific needs, and specific requirements. So a default generic experience cannot be good enough. And the soul of search is metadata, and you have to work on it. And if you do not have custom metadata, you cannot really do any real customization and any meaningful customization at all. So what to do here? First of all, you should schedule a crawl to add content to search. This is the very first step. You have to have content in search. Second, add additional content sources. Why? Because as soon as you start and your users start using search, you will realize that being able to search in SharePoint content only is not enough. you want to add file shares and network drives, maybe exchange public folders, maybe the public website of your company, etc., etc. So you will soon realize that the more content you add, the more value you can add to search. So moving forward, just add additional content sources. And don't forget to schedule crawl on those content sources as well. The next step is actually create crawl rules to remove the content from the search index, not even add content to the search index that you do not need in search. As I said, the more content you add to search, the more value you add to search. But at the same time, the more content you add to search, the more garbage you add to search too. So you have to be able to define what content has a very, very low business value or zero business value from the perspective of search and just exclude it. Why? Because as soon as you remove those unnecessary content from the search index, the relevancy of the remaining content in search will increase immediately. So you will have more relevant content in search and only the relevant content in search. It's an important thing as well. The next step is create result sources. Result sources are a very good way to create search verticals in a meaning of those are predefined subset of the search index. For example, documents only, people only, for example, project documents only, marketing documents only, archive content only, live content only, etc., etc. So those are just subsets of your search index. And therefore, you can use them on different pages, on different user experiences to target specific and relevant content to your users. It is the key to be able to provide relevant content to your users. Next, of course, create custom metadata. Add custom metadata to your search schema, because that is the basic for everything in search. And then customize the user interface as well. Add custom refiners, add custom properties to the result set, how it is displayed, etc., etc. So for example, if I switch back here, on the left side on the expectation screenshot, you can see that the results are displayed with a custom display template, and all the custom metadata on those documents are organized into this right column. Why? Because it's much easier to scan. As soon as the users see the results set, they can scan the results much, much easier. Which one is the proper and the most relevant document, most relevant result for them. This way, with this little visualization, you can help a lot. So customize the UI. Or on the refinement panel, add your custom refinement. Add properties, metadata here that makes sense for your users. And it's okay and absolutely fine if you have different refinement panels on different search pages if they are used by different groups of users. For example, members of your financial department most probably need different information and different refiners than product development or HR or marketing team. Okay, so and use different refiners, use different display templates for the results, customize the user interface for something that is meaningful and visual enough for your users. And last but not least, create query rules. With query rules, you can do so much. You can boost results, you can display result blocks, you can change the ranking of the results. You can do so many things with simple query rules, no coding, no hard code development, no developer superpower is needed, just query rules. Just learn how you can create query rules, and then you have all the power you need. So once again, the key here is use custom metadata, customize the user interface, and create query rules, result sources. So understand all those building blocks and then use them, start using them and start customizing them. The next one is something similar, Myth. It is search works out of the box in Office 365, but I have separated it from SharePoint on-prem simply because it has some differences. First of all, the myth is as soon as you create your Office 365 tenant, search works immediately. So the point here is that continuous scroll is enabled by default. So as soon as you start adding content to Office 365 SharePoint Online, it will be crawled by continuous scroll. So you don't have to manage, and you cannot even manage the crawl schedule of your content. It is continuous. It will be done for you. We have various experiences out of the box. We do have the classic search, of course, that we already know from SharePoint on-prem, but at the same time we have the personalized or modern search experiences as well. We have Delve, we have search in OneDrive, we have search in Office.com, we have search in Outlook, Exchange Online. So searches are kind of everywhere in Office 365, and we have many experiences, which is good. But at the same time, it can be also confusing which one I should use when is a very common question about Office 365 search. Once again, everything is there. I mean, no filters, no real custom filters. If you upload a document to SharePoint, it will be added to search. If you create a new list item, it will be added to search. So you really have to keep control over it. The classic search experience is the same 10 blue lines user experience in classic search. The modern search is different, and the personalized search and search in Dev is different, obviously. At the same time, we cannot customize that one. So there are pros and cons. If you are more interested in, I have several blog posts about it. What are the differences about the classic and personalized search in Office 365? It's a huge topic itself. Could be a whole webinar or even a whole half-day or one-day workshop. So again, you have the default refiners only and no custom metadata, so you have to do the same enhancements as you would do in SharePoint on-prem. Oops, okay, I made a mistake and forgot to remove additional content sources and schedule crawl to add content from this slide. It's definitely a copy-paste mistake. I'm sorry about that. The point here is, let me do this. The point here is that you cannot add additional content source in Office 365, and you cannot have any control over the crawl schedule if you have Office 365 only. In hybrid, you can. So if you do have a hybrid environment, you can add additional content sources. You can have a crawl schedule in your cloud search service application and those kind of things. But once again, I apologize for that. If you do have Office 365 only, you cannot have control over those two things. You have to have at least hybrid, because it was a copy-paste from my SharePoint on-prem slide and forgot about that. Sorry about that. Anyway, the next myth to talk about is everything is searchable. If I turn on search, if I crawl my content, I will be able to find everything. This is a common expectation. So let's talk about that. The truth is we have 5 type limitations. Several types of files are excluded from crawling. They are not crawled, they are not indexed at all. For example, it's not a good practice anyway to store executable files on SharePoint. But if you do that for any reason, or if you crawl a network drive which stores executables, they are not crawled into the search index. File size, we also have a file size limit. If you have huge archive, if you have a huge CAD files, for example, AutoCAD files, it might be cut because of that file size limit. But again, this everything is also limited if you do not crawl the content on a regular basis. So obviously you have to do a full crawl at the beginning, but then you have to keep doing incrementals again and again and again. Otherwise, you will have no content in the search index, and the content will not be updated in the search index, so you won't have good content freshness in the index. So don't forget, again, don't forget about the crawling and about the crawl schedule. And last but not least, I have to mention that you don't really need everything, I mean literally everything in search. Just think about it. There are some content that is fine to exclude from search, that has no business value for your users, that does not make too much sense for your users. So just feel free to exclude that content. Don't worry about that. As I said, the more content you add to search, the more garbage you add to search as well. So don't worry about excluding things. You do not need everything. This is not an easy trade-off to make. This is not an easy decision to make, to define what to include and what to exclude from search. But at some point you have to do that. So what to do with this thing? Schedule crawl to add and refresh content in the search index. This is the key. Keep the search index as fresh as possible. Create crawl rules to remove, to exclude the content that you do not need in search. Don't worry about excluding content. Be brave enough. Configure the required 5 times. Create result sources again to search verticals to provide meaningful results for your users. Create custom metadata. Once again, metadata is the soul of search. Any kind of filter you want to do in result sources, in your queries, query rules, anywhere, is based on metadata. You have to know what your content is. You have to know what your content is about. So isness and aboutness of your content is really important. And everything is metadata. Okay. The next one is customizing the search user interface needs developer superpower, and you have to buy super expensive third-party solutions to add the new refiner or create a new display template. I have heard this several times, and let me clarify what's wrong with that myth. Customizing search is difficult. This is one thing I hear a lot. It needs advanced developer skills. This is another thing. The truth is, the search user interface itself, so customizing the user experience, the user interface itself, is just simple HTML and JavaScript. The backend itself is complex. You have, all the content sources, the metadata, query rules, result sources, many different things. But the UI itself is simple. So if your backend is clean and you know what you do there, and the backend is in a good shape, the front end is just a question of HTML and JavaScript coding. It is not a, any super power that you need there. In some cases, you need to add some additional custom developed components. That's okay, but the basics can be done by JavaScript and HTML. So for example, if I go back here to this slide, you can see this one, creating this kind of display template where you reorganize what is displayed and how is displayed. Here in this table, the title and the description of the content on the left side and the additional metadata on the right side, it takes no more than a few hours. If you have the right metadata available in the backend. Adding those refiners, if you do have the metadata, takes no more than 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure. This one is a little bit more tricky. You can see the level of customization is a bit higher here, but again, it's no magic. It's just HTML. We are displaying the documents on those cards instead of lines, of 10 blue lines. By the way, you can download this display template from my site as well if you are interested, which again cuts the time that you have to invest into it. But again, it's just HTML, really literally it's just HTML and JavaScript. This one as well, and this one as well, everything, no magic, no hard code development here at all. Okay. User interface. All right, the next one is, okay, sorry, let me go back here. What to do with the user interface and how to improve your user interface. I'm saying it's not that difficult. I'm saying it's not that complex. Once again, what is complex is the backend. You have to know what you do there. You have to understand what is there and why and how it will be there. But speaking about strictly the user interface only, what you have to do is first understand the backend. Again, understand what is there, why, and how it gets, how everything gets there, how you will get that metadata, how you will get that information about the content, etc., etc. Create custom metadata in the backend again, but you have to have that metadata that you want to display, that you want to filter by, that you want to order by, that you want to use as a refiner. Pay attention to your content, improve the content a lot, as much as possible. The better your content, the better your search can be. Learn HTML and JavaScript and understand how display templates work, what you have to do and how you can do in display templates, and understand how the search schema works. The search schema contains the crawled and managed properties, all the metadata in the search index, actually. So understanding how it works and how your content metadata gets into the search index and how you can use it in your display templates and refiners and everything is a key. So it all goes back. You have to understand the backend. Someone have to manage the backend. You have to have a backend in a good shape with good metadata and well-organized search index. And then you can have a good search user interface by creating custom display templates and refiners and those kind of things. But once again, this last step on the user interface is just HTML and JavaScript. The next one, the next myth is search can fix bad content. I can hear this a lot. If the content is a mess, turn on search and it will fix everything. The truth is, search can be only as good as your content is. Why? Because this is what search uses. Search uses your content to present to your users. It cannot be any better than your content. Of course, today we have machine learning, we have cognitive tools, we have auto classification. So we have some tools that can help some, but still they cannot do the magic instead of you. So what to do here? Understand your content, do a content inventory. Just invest into it, understand what you have and why and how your users use that content. Clean up your content and organize your content. That's the key. Add meaningful metadata to your content as much as possible. Add more metadata and better metadata. Quality metadata is the key. And add even better and better metadata. It's a never-ending story. Enforce your users, motivate your users to add better metadata to the content. Only crawl what you really need in search and exclude what you do not need. And be brave enough to use metadata in search. Just use it, present it, display it to your users. It's okay if you have to change the user interface, how it looks like, how it is organized after a while. Your users have to discover it, they have to explore it, they have to understand it first. And based on their feedback, it's okay if you change it. But just start it, do it now. So today I was showing you some common search myth, namely search works as soon as you deploy SharePoint and turn it on. It works as soon as you create a new tenant in Office 365. Everything is searchable. Customizing the search user interface is difficult and needs developer superpower. Search can fix bad content, and personalized or modern search in Office 365 can fix everything and anything for you. Those are the myths I was talking about during this webinar. And also I have presented some ways to really improve search in your organization. Search works as soon as you pay attention to it. Start working on search and don't wait for the magic to happen. Search works as soon as you pay attention to your content. Improve your content more and more and more, as much as you can and even more. What is included in search, what can be found by search is under your control. I'm sorry. So you can control and you can customize it. Customizing the search user interface is under your control again. You can do that, just learn it. And you are the one who can fix bad content. And you are the one who can work on it and improve it. And don't expect the magic from the search engine. The search itself cannot fix your bad content. For example, it cannot fix my typo here. I'm sorry. So those were the things I wanted to show you today, because I had those interactions and those discussions with many people in the last couple of weeks. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to help. Right now, down in the Zoom window, you can find a Q&A box. Just type your question there. There is also a chat window if you just want to let me know your feedback, for example. I really appreciate that. If you have any further questions in the future, just don't hesitate to send me an email or visit my website at searchexplain.com. The topic of this month is metadata. I'm going to do a new search minutes next month, next week on YouTube, and in 2 weeks search Q&A about metadata. So don't miss it. You will find information about that on my website as well. And don't forget to follow us and subscribe to us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can find us at Search Explain. Thank you very much for your attention today, and I'm looking forward to your feedback. And in a day or two, you will get an email from me with the recording and with the slides and further resources. Just pay attention to your inbox. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.